Hello and welcome to episode 170 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, we got some stuff to talk about this week.
We
Holy
we
moly.
sure do.
Jeez. We're going to get into that, but first, let's talk about some beer. Each week we drink a beer. We rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So, with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right, we're continuing our pseudo tap takeover here of Cartwright Springs, the cool
Hmm.
camping ground slash
Blue can.
tin shed brewery with the blue cans and the stickers over the previous name of the beer.
Hmm.
Um, and we're actually recording this on Halloween. And this is a stout, so
Hmm.
figured that's what we got to do. We got to try the stout on Halloween.
Totally. Uh,
It's
Coffee
five
stout.
percent and it's a coffee stout. Yep.
Boom. That's it. Fantastic, Jeff. Let's get right into this. We got lots of stuff to talk
So,
about, and let's get.
oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm just ready. Oh my gosh, we have some magic news. Holy moly!
Dewey.
All right. Well, first things first. The World Championship was this last weekend. Um, And it was nuts. Well, not just all the announcements that happened, because that's kind of the big doozy. That's what we're really saying
Yeah,
when we keep talking about this. But the tournament itself was awesome and crazy. I we obviously talked about this last week because we were making our like fantasy teams getting ready for this weekend. Players were playing Duskmorn Draft and Standard. And well, I mean, there's not really any spoilers in sports, Jeff. Do you want to tell us who won the whole thing?
yes. Congratulations to Javier Dominguez for winning World Championship 30. And that means he's officially Player of the Year as well. Um, I think he's the second person ever to win the World Championship twice
Hmm.
because he also had won it because I can remember his face on a little mono red attacker that used to be all up in my grill all the time.
It's
So
true.
I know this is not his first time getting a magic card uh, with his likeness on it. So congrats to him.
Yeah, but isn't this the first time that we are having one player get two cards, right? Because
Yeah, because when I think it was Shahar
it
Shenhar,
was.
and I think he even did it back to back or something
I think
crazy.
yeah, it was like what 2004 and 2005 or something like that.
But they weren't doing the cards at that time, so he
Exactly.
didn't
So
get his on
yeah,
two different magic cards.
if you didn't know, the winner of the world championship gets to have their face put on a magic card, and they get to
Mhm.
kind of decide what the card does. Not exactly design it,
I think
but
they get shown like three or four different options. They pick
mhm,
one and then they kind of
try
say
to
like,
tweak it a little bit.
yeah, they try to push for it to be even better, and then design is like, no, that's crazy. And then,
And then they nerf it a bit.
yeah.
Um, the originally this award was given to the Players Cup Invitational, the Players Invitational, back in the day, and that was really just them designing an actual card, and then they basically made them and put their face on it. And then they had stopped that tournament for a while, still had Worlds, and didn't decide to bring back that whole keep put your likeness on a card thing until
Yeah.
later on.
And I think like one underlying theme of tonight's episode, given everything we're going to be talking about, is like history and Magic's history. And I
Hmm.
think one of the really cool things about this is, when you're a new game or newer game, what kind of prizes do you give out? Because you can't afford to have $1 million tournament or whatever
Hmm.
these tournaments are these days, like $100,000 tournaments. So what do? You're like, hey, we will design a card that looks like you, or like you get to design a card in the next set. Like that's an
Hmm.
easy way to give a prize that actually means something to people
Yeah.
that isn't just monetary. And so when Magic got more popular and started offering money for these prizes, I think they kind of they lost that aspect of it.
Hmm.
And I think bringing it back is a testament to like, hey, this is still really cool though. Like, wouldn't it be
It,
awesome if you got money and this? Because that's pretty sweet.
yeah.
Um,
It's also a cool thing just to keep people engaged. And so like um I know there's a lot of people like, oh man, look at this card, and then somebody else at your store leans over and says, hey, that's Yuta Takahashi, or whatever.
mhm.
Um
Boy, Yuta
so
picked a good one, didn't he?
he really did. Yeah.
Yeah,
They kind of already had that one in the bag. They're like, oh, Yuta, and they're like, we could do some fairy
a
stuff.
fairy rogue. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh but anyway, this should be
Like,
exciting.
it's a really good card.
We'll see Javier Dominguez's last card, like you were saying, was a mono red card.
Mhm.
And Throne of Eldraine. And so we'll
Saw a lot of
see.
play.
Yeah. He won with Dimir Demons this time around, which is like a mid-rangey deck that has a kind of finishing combo of like Excruciator Demon that comes down and like exiles everything but 6 cards in their library, and then you use the Jace, the completed Jace, to mill the rest of it.
Wasn't this
Um,
a Pioneer combo deck that had to get banned?
did it get banned?
Do you remember
Oh,
Inverter
oh,
combo?
sorry. Oh, right, right. You're talking about
It's basically Inverter combo, right?
right, right, right. I
Yeah.
did see memes about that over the weekend.
Um, yeah, cool deck. Really interesting sort of take on the because demons, when I've seen it, usually goes a little like just mono black and
Hmm.
relies maybe more on a different combo. But yeah, it's cool to see this one. Although the deck actually didn't do super well overall. It's just Javier.
It was just Javier.
Yeah.
Um, and well, while we're kind of talking about this, we did have teams that we had put together.
Did we? Was Javier on your team or my? I can't remember.
Javier was on your team,
Oh yeah,
but
right.
to be fair, we both picked 2 people that were in the top 8. We
That's
both
right.
picked Seth Manfield, who made the top 8. You picked Javier Dominguez, and I picked Kai Buda, who did make the top 8. So,
Yeah.
okay. All
When I
right.
saw the top eight, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like
Yeah.
there's one overlapping player and then one each of players that, we had that wasn't on the other person's team. Um, so I was just like, kind of like, wow, I really hope Javier takes this down. And then I
Mhm. And then
log in later and I was like, well, he did. Oh my
he
God,
did.
that's amazing.
Um,
Although part of me was like, it would be fucking amazing if Kai won this tournament.
I really wanted Kai to win,
Yeah.
and he lost in the first round to Seth Manfield, so that was kind of sad. Um, but still, it's super cool to have him like top 8
Even just top
worlds.
eighting
Like,
it, yeah, amazing.
and basically, Seth is beating Kai to kind of try to make sure that he can be the Kai Buddha Player of the Year. Like,
Right.
has to beat Kai Buddha to win the
It's
award
the
that's named
ultimate
after
like
him.
end boss. If only
Yeah,
Javier had like been the one to beat
to
him
do it.
and then win the whole thing and win
Well, I
the
mean, then
award.
Javier beat Seth Manfield to then win the
Right.
Kai Buddha Player of the Year award.
It's like King of the Hill or whatever. So Kai
Basically.
Buddha had it, and then
Hmm.
Seth Manfield stole the
Took
Kai
it.
Buddha award from Kai
Mhm.
Buddha, and then Javier stole it from Seth.
Yeah. So quickly on that note, with the Player of the Year, I didn't realize this because I don't know why, I just kept forgetting. But Javier Dominguez has been crushing it all year. And
Yes.
obviously Simon Nielsen has been like in the spotlight because he keeps making like top 8s. But I didn't realize, I just forgot. I don't know why I didn't. I knew he was in contention every time. But Murders at Karlov Manor, Javier Dominguez places 9th overall, misses top 8 by just a sliver. And then Outlaws of Thunder Junction, he places 10th. Okay, almost making the
What a
top 8 once
disappointing
again.
finish for him.
Modern Horizons 3, he makes the top 8. Worlds, he wins the tournament. That the fact that the worst he did in a pro tour this year was 10th place is just mind-boggling. I can't
And in
believe
any
that.
other year, that's all people would talk about. But because
Mhm.
Simon had like, didn't he have like four top eights or something?
It
Like,
was just crazy.
yeah.
Like it just in a row. Yeah, it wasn't all
Yeah.
this year, but like one of his top 8s from this year was part of that like
Right,
oh
that ridiculous streak.
run. So like it just seemed like Simon was like overshadowing everybody, and he ended up doing he Simon went 6-0 in draft, but then went 2-6 in standard. So then he
Oof.
um was like, oh man, because they were posting like, oh my God, Simon Nielsen is like undefeated in draft. He's like, yeah, that would have been really great if I didn't go like 2-6 in in standard.
He's a pretty like funny and humble guy too. It's one of the
Yeah,
things I like about
it's
him.
true. But I think for Simon Nielsen in draft over all the pro tours this year, I think he only picked up like 4 match losses or something. Like he is
Insane. Yeah.
insane, which you don't always think about him in draft for whatever reason. But anyway,
No,
he's
I always think about him bringing
phenomenal.
like a wacky archetype, off meta archetype to the
Hmm.
constructed portion and just crushing with it.
Yeah.
Like heroic.
Well, yeah. Not this time.
No.
So
No, he brought an on meta archetype. It sucked. So
yeah, you got to bring the
yeah.
wacky ones, man. Um, anyway, I just want to say, congratulations, Javier. I'm excited for your new card, and congratulations to Jeff.
Yeah, that's just the feeling I had when I picked him. I didn't even
Mhm.
know the actual stats, but I was like, I feel like this guy's just always around. Like he's always, whether he's in the top eight
Or
or
right
like,
outside.
I feel like he's just always around,
I
and
know.
I want him on my
I should have
world's
just
team.
looked at the numbers a little bit more. He just seemed too easy for some reason, and I was just like, "There's no way he's going to keep doing it," and he is.
That's always the thing, right? You're like,
Mhm.
is it just a hot streak, or I don't want to be the guy that picks up the fantasy player on the hot streak and then they cool off.
Yeah, it's
But it's like I feel like Javier's hot streak has been like a decade,
he's just
so he's just
he just
always around in contention.
yeah, he should be closer to like a first rounder, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, that was a lot of fun. Jeff won by a lot. I think Jeff had like 73 points or something crazy like that, and I was like in the 50s, so it wasn't even really close. But we had a few other people
I
submit
almost picked
some
Tikawa
answers.
as my Japanese player too. I was like
Oh,
that close, and then I was like, "Nah, we got to go
you
with the
did,
former world championship
and he
or
did terribly.
champion."
He
Yeah,
was really bad. Um, you, he did his normal 0-3 draft.
but this time he wasn't able to go undefeated in the
No.
way up. Yeah.
Um, but anyway, no. So we had like we ended up making like a Google sheet for the actual like fantasy thing, and we had a few folks come in and like make up their teams, and so that was a lot of fun. Jeff still beat everybody, um, but yeah, I think we'll try to keep that up for other world championships. It's a little bit more fun for the world championship because the player it's like there's less players. Pro tours, there's just so many people. It's not nearly as fun to try to
Yeah, yeah.
pick it.
That makes sense.
So it might be just like a once a year thing. But if you're interested in doing that, tell us. I'd love to do it again and invite all the other people. All right.
So you owe me like a 2-4, right? That's
We did
usually
not actually shake on
usually what we do.
anything. It was just for fun this year. I would have
All
taken it
right.
much more seriously if like beer was involved.
I see.
I already had to give you. I always lose bets to Jeff, so it's just basically me like giving Jeff money.
Yeah.
Um,
But you get to buy like beer that you know I'm not gonna like. And
that's true. That is fun. Too bad that beer tends to be more expensive than just like
yeah,
Budweiser.
it's the most expensive stuff.
Exactly. Anyway, wow, we had a ton of announcements this weekend. We got news about the like next sets that are coming out. We got all next year basically is like not spoiled, but we know a lot about it. There's changes to the rules. There's changes to arena. There's changes to standard. There's so much stuff happening that this is our whole
Yeah.
episode about it because
Yeah.
basically Wizards is ushering in a new age. They've done this a few times over the years. They kind of have like a big statement being like, "We're making a big change," and then they do something. This happened with like Fire Design, if you remember that.
Mhm.
Years before that, there was like New World Order. They had changed a bunch of rules and done a bunch of stuff. That was probably around the time they changed what planeswalkers, like how strong they were, as far as not in game, but in the universe, so that they could make
Right.
them cards. Um, there have been many times that this has happened, and so now we are moving into the Foundations era. All right, so now we know Foundations is the next set that's coming out next month. It will be legal for 5 years in standard, and it comes out November 12th on Arena. I think in paper it's the 15th, but November 12th. That's the day. It's
Yeah,
coming
I'm
up.
excited. The set looks great.
This set looks amazing. Um, I don't want to get too much into the actual cards of the set because we're going to talk about a lot about that like next week in the following
Yeah.
weeks, and it's going to be the next big thing.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it will be legal for 5 years. Um, and it is definitely having a lot of fun reprints to like old Magic sets. It really is the foundations of like what Magic is. It feels so much like Magic.
Yeah, it's giving me like flashbacks. You know, it's giving me those kitchen table Magic vibes that I think
Hmm.
this set needed to have,
It really
and
did, yeah.
they're delivering on that. I
Like,
see some card, I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't think that card's very good, but I remember like, my brother had that in his deck when we used to play. And
yeah, all this stuff. Like, it's so fun. I'm just being on Twitter and people posting like, "Oh my God, this card's gonna be in standard for 5 years." It's
yeah,
like even cards like, "Oh, Zombify is coming back, and we're gonna get
right?
Zombify for 5 years." Like, um, it's just those kinds of exciting things. Like, "Oh, sick! Wait, I haven't seen this card in forever. This is awesome!" Or, "Oh my gosh, this is like a new, better version of that card." Like, I don't think anyone's excited about this, but they made a new cancel that's just like cancels
Right.
basically no longer a card. Even though,
Yeah, every set has cancel with upside now.
yeah,
So,
but I think this is like technically cancel is in the set, but it's not in the draftable set.
mm,
But they made a card called Refute, which is cancel, but then it just says like one blue blue instant counter target spell, draw a card, then discard a card, and this will
nice.
just be the new cancel. Cancel won't
Right.
be a thing. Refute will be the new
Right. And they gave it a
baseline.
nice simple name too to be
Print
the thing you compare to or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
that just is kind of the new thing. So getting some things that are getting upgraded, some stuff that's just being redone, really cool. The art feels great. I don't know. It just feels like magic, you know?
Yeah, and like pushing elves and goblins and
Hmm.
like, it's bringing me back. The one that did it for me was like Blanchwood Armor. That's a
Hmm.
that's a total kitchen table card that I used to see all the time. And nice to see it here again and just around forever. Shivan Dragon, you know,
Yeah. Oh, like,
Sarah Angel,
mhm,
obviously. Like,
mhm. Like we talked about, like Giant Growth, Llanowar Elves, all these classic ones, Overrun,
yeah,
I
Overrun,
could just like look through these cards forever. I was literally before the show just going through, just
yeah.
throwing cards at Jeff, being like, this card's in the set, and this card's in the set. We have like Juggernaut and Burnish Heart and Solemn Simulacrum. We have like Swiftfoot Boots, and we have
Oh
the
yeah.
Gain Lands, and it just has the sauce.
Yeah.
It's got it.
They're nailing this.
Hmm.
And then
And
even so, like I'm thinking draft now because I love drafting these sets and I see heroic reinforcements here. I'm like, yeah, baby.
oh,
Yep. We're
love
gonna be
me.
doing that.
Like it's just all there, and so this is I don't. If you're listening to this podcast, you are an enfranchised player. You know what we're going to get to later. So we just want to have fun while we still can. You know what I mean? I think that might be like the moral. My focus right now is like have fun while you can. Um, and this set seems like a lot of fun. And like I'm even looking at thinking like, oh, should I just buy a box and paper? Like I never buy a box and paper, but like
I
this set looks
know.
really.
I'm going to the pre-release. I've already locked that in.
Oh,
So
I have to get that locked in now. Like I was thinking about it before, but now I was like, no, no, no. I have got to be there and I've got to do this. So, um, yeah, this is just it's just great. Um, anyway, we had some more cool. Oh, sorry. This is with foundations. So, Jeff, you saw the new rule change that we're getting.
mhm.
Um, for it's like literally just a new rule in Magic that will change the way that we play, primarily draft, but um, it's
Yeah.
just a new thing.
Yeah. So basically, currently, before this rule comes into effect, when multiple blockers are assigned to block an attacker, what you have to do as the attacker is order the blockers. So you choose, okay, blocker number one, I'm putting it first, blocker number two, I'm putting it second. Then people can do stuff.
Hmm.
Then it goes to damage, and uh, you have to deal damage in the order that you assigned it. I've always thought this rule was weird Like I would double block as the defender and then wait to see what they do and then pump whatever they put first and none of my creatures die. And
Hmm.
it always felt like cheating. It felt like I was on the one hand, it's like I knew the rules better than they did, and so like whatever I got paid off for that. But it felt like it shouldn't work that way.
Hmm.
Um, and so moving forward, it does not work that way. When damage actually gets assigned, you just choose how the damage gets assigned, which is simpler and
Hmm.
just better because it favors like now there's supposed to be risk to double blocking. There's just this is actually means there might be
Hmm.
because I would always just like double block, be like, I have a pump spell. There's literally nothing they could do.
Hmm.
Um, and now I actually maybe have to think about it a little bit. So, yeah, I think this is a great rules change. It's something that doesn't come up so often that it was like I would call it like something I've been clamoring for.
Hmm.
But anytime it actually does come up, I've always felt like this is wrong. Like this is the wrong way that this should work.
Yeah. And like I'm thinking of it from the other perspective where I'm usually the attacker, being like, I'll attack in, at least I'll kill one of them when they double block, and then they just use a pump spell and like, oh, so you just got to just use say, hey, pump spell, it just turns into murder and you just kill my creature. That's basically what happened.
Right. And
And
it's
I
like you have a 6/6 that gets,
blocked by two four
or like a
fours.
4/4 or whatever. Yeah, whatever. 4/4 it gets blocked by two 2/2s and you get a giant growth on the first one, you kill
Hmm.
nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's weird.
That's weird.
Like
It's
it's a
it's
5/5 and a 2/2. The 4/4 should kill the 2/2.
exactly. Like it should just be you would just think that it would okay, well then we'll kill the other one instead. I think this is a good change. It simplifies things, which some people think is bad for the game, but I disagree. Um,
People always complain about simplifying rules in the moment
mhm.
and then later acknowledge that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Like, damage on the stack and like all of these rules for the like there's obviously some bias there that the people who really hated it left the game and are no longer commenting on it years later.
yeah,
But like for the most part, Magic in and of itself is complex enough that you don't need these complicated rulings.
exactly.
And you don't really want to win because the like, well, maybe some people do, but personally, I don't want to win because I know the ins and outs of the rule book better than my opponent.
Yeah, Jeff, you
I
don't
want
want to
to
be a
win on
rules lawyer?
strategy.
I want to be
Yeah.
a rules lawyer. That's the
Yeah,
best.
some people are into that, but like for the most part, I want games to be intuitive, understandable, and I want to win on strategy and on,
Mhm.
gameplay and not like, haha, they didn't know that in this weird moment, like Death Shadow's not gonna die because it's going to grow at the same time as
Mhm.
the like damage will be put on it and it will
All that
actually
stuff.
survive. Haha. I've always hated
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to say I'm not saying I don't take advantage of the rules that I
Oh,
do
of
know,
course, of course.
but
Um,
it's always like, it feels like it shouldn't work that way.
and I'm glad it doesn't anymore. So that will
Yeah.
take effect during Foundations. It's primarily a thing that happens in Limited. So just if you've been playing for a long time and this is something you do often, just make it. It was kind of buried in a like an announcement. So this is just
It
your
really doesn't
warning.
come up that often because a lot of like even in the situation we're describing, like just block with a single 2/2 and giant growth it and don't
Hmm.
risk the other 2/2. But there are weird situations where it's like, okay, it insulates me against something to double block and then do it. Now it
Yeah,
just like that just goes away.
yeah. And basically, you still assign damage to the blockers. It just happens during the damage step, and it just makes
Yeah.
sense.
It's just a weird corner case that is now not with us anymore, and I'm happy with
Hooray!
that.
Very excited for that. We also have something exciting happening to Pioneer in December. And I said Pioneer, I meant to say Arena, so I kind of ruined it.
I was
But
like, did you mean to say Explorer?
Pioneer Masters is coming to Arena on December 10th. So it's also going to be a full draft format. So it's like an actual set, which whether that was necessary or not, I don't know. But all the other remastered types of sets happened have been draftable. So I think this makes sense. But yeah, it should bring like 99% of Pioneer to Arena, which is great. I'm happy with that. I've been playing less Pioneer-y stuff, but the biggest thing was that like I wanted to be able to test for paper tournaments on Arena. And when there are decks you can't play or matchups you're not playing
Yeah.
against, you kind of miss out on that. So this is a great thing. And
Mhm.
obviously, when those start to get spoiled, we'll talk more about that then. But great news. I thought they had forgotten about this
Yeah. I remember when they announced this and we were like excited and
Mhm.
then it got deprioritized for
For
a
years.
long time. It was
Yeah.
like the beginning of the show and we were like, yes, Pioneer Masters coming
hmm
down. Um, Great to see. It's obviously good news. A part of me is actually going to miss Explorer now
hmm
because I was like having fun with Explorer and some of the stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm glad it's not Pioneer because I don't want to play against that deck or whatever.
hmm
So it kind of became its own mini format there. I always knew it was going to Pioneer. I just thought I had more time. But I love Pioneer too. So like this is a good thing. It's just kind of the what do you call it, like graduation goggles thing where you're like, oh man, Explorer's leaving though, because it's still going to be called Explorer and all that, but it's going to be Pioneer now.
Is it still called Explorer? They're just not going to change the name to Pioneer.
I have no idea. I actually just was guessing on that. I shouldn't have stated that like it was a fact, but
I feel like they should just change it to Pioneer because people get confused about things very easily.
that's true.
Um,
And standard is standard on Arena, right? So
yeah.
I guess the weird thing is like Pioneer, I think Pioneer on Arena will never fully actually be Pioneer, right? Because there are going to be so many irrelevant cards that are
Yeah.
not on Arena that are technically legal in Pioneer. So I
Dubious
think that's
Challenge
the
being like the number
distinction.
one card
How
that like
dare you?
it's so irrelevant and useless.
I fully expect it to be the headline of Pioneer Masters. It's going to be on the packs.
Yeah, on the packs, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with brand new art.
Oh God. If you didn't know, Jeff's like favorite card is Dubious Challenge. So um
I'm expecting Dubious Challenge and a reprint of Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, into
into
Pioneer.
Pioneer and Flicker Wisp.
Yeah.
Um
Oh yeah, Flicker. I forgot that card wasn't legal in Pioneer. Yeah,
it's
give
not.
me that too. I'm gonna need
Yeah,
that one.
I'm gonna need that one as well. Uh anyway, so that's pretty exciting. Just that it just feels like finally, holy, what we've been spending so much goddamn time on, like alchemy and like all this other shit. Just bring us the cards we've been asking for years.
Yeah.
Oh, like give me a Glade Cover Scout. Like
They took
God.
so long, I started to like the other format.
Uh, um. Anyway, with that, we're coming into the next year of Standard. We have some cool sets happening. We have heard about three of the sets that are coming to Standard. Um, we'll talk about the other three afterwards. So we're
Mhm.
we're gonna start off with like Aether Drift is the name of the set that's coming in February. We already knew about this, but we do have the name finally, and
Right.
this is like the Death
Great,
Race.
great
Like
name for like the Kaladesh Death Race thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
death.
It's like I don't know if it's fully on Kaladesh. Was it Chandra is like one of the headliners, and like her
Mhm.
motorcycle thing looks like Kaladeshian, but it's on three different planes that I actually don't remember which ones they
Oh,
are.
of course. Yeah, it's
They
like an
announced it.
interplanar race. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes through a bunch of planes. And I don't know if we've been to a couple of them before. Some of them might be new. I'm not 100% on that one.
Cool.
But anyway, there's a like Duretti is in it, and there's like a bunch of vehicles and cool. There's like Gear Hulks and stuff. Like it seems like it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah, in
Um,
my head it was like on Kaladesh, but there are people coming from other planes to
gotcha.
compete. But I forgot that it was, yeah, an interplanar
Yeah,
race itself, which
I'm
makes sense, of course,
totally.
with the
I know that you're excited for this, but I'm waiting for the Sebulba card. We need something,
Yep. Yeah.
something like Sebulba for all of us Phantom Menace fans out there.
Yeah, I wanted the baby Anakin personally. So,
Baby Anakin.
yeah.
Oh, but that would be kind of cool. I think there's like one picture of Duretti that like gives me like pod race vibes. So I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
definitely inspired by the pod racing. So
yeah, and not the movie Death Race, which is
never heard of
it's like a bunch of prisoners have to like have a death race, and if you win, you get to be set free or something.
it. Oh,
and then most of
Asgard.
them die in the process.
Yeah. It's a
So
death race,
they
right?
just got to free up space in the jail, basically.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Sounds like a policy that might actually come into place. So,
yeah. Well, we'll see. Next week is
yeah.
the election in the United
Oh
States. So,
boy.
oh boy. Mm. Anyway, off of that, um, the next set after that is Tarkir as we return. It's Tarkir Dragon Storm,
I was
which
surprised this is this the official name? I was surprised to see this name because
I mean, I was also surprised to see it, but knowing that they made like what if March of the Machines was the name of a set.
that's fair.
Um,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
and I was gonna say I'm excited for Dragonstorm to be reprinted in this set,
But
but
it
then
has to be, right?
no, because remembering March of the Machines did not reprint March of the Machines. So in like any product, I don't even think it was in one of the commander decks because March of the Machines had nothing to do with battles, I guess. Um, if anyone remember, March of the Machines was like 3 and a blue for an enchantment. It's like all your non-artifact creatures become artifact creatures equal to their CMC or their mana value. And I had lost to that at FNM as a kid during Mirrodin block, and so it is plastered in my brain as a scary
Yeah.
card, which I don't think it's actually scary, but
I was like,
I
is it even good?
I remember it being very strong. I
These
don't.
days, it just like destroys all of your treasure
Yeah,
tokens, right?
it just kills all of your treasures and your clues.
Yeah. Your food tokens.
Like nowadays, it would have to say all artifacts become creatures equal to their CMC, so it would kill all of your opponent's treasures.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
it's like a world enchantment.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now I'm kind of like I don't know if Dragonstorm's going to be in it. I was pretty firmly on no, but
Is Dragonstorm too good? No, right?
no, Dragonstorm's like it's like fun, but it's not good, right?
Yeah.
Like I just
I
don't
feel
like
like
we have
they
it
just don't
in
want to reprint a Storm card in the standard, probably.
probably, but it would also be like, hey, put a bunch of dragons in your deck, and I don't know, it seems cool.
Yeah, I would be on board with Dragonstorm being in this set,
Mhm.
personally. But,
I agree. I think they should do it, but I'm not holding my breath. That's all I'm gonna say. We have it on Arena already. It's in Historic. Um, I have played Dragonstorm decks in Historic. It was fun, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Without Terror of the Peaks, is it really? Oh, we have Terror of the Peaks. Oh shit, that was reprinted. I forgot. It was in was it Thunder Junction? Okay, so if Dragonstorm was in, we could actually that could be a big deal.
We could do a thing.
If you do that and like reenact the crime, your Dragonstorm in the graveyard,
Here we go. Now we're
that's
talking.
something.
Now we're brewing.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Anyway, we will see. It'll be interesting to see Tarkir as we come back because for a long time they said they didn't want to go back to Tarkir because of like on the plane it was like, oh, these really cool 3-color clans, and then Fate Reforged happened, and now there's a bunch of 2-color dragons things.
Right.
Um, and people were like, man, cons was really cool. And then when the dragons came, Dragons of Darkir was just not as cool, and all the cons stuff that was really cool was gone. So technically, we're going back. I don't really
And it seems like we're going back to the dragons
dragons,
side
yeah.
of it. Good.
So I'm assuming that we're just picking up where we left off. I don't know if that means that the clans are still 2 colors or they're going like kind of feels like they have to be 3 colors somehow. I don't know what they're gonna do, but
Maybe this is like the part how they became 3 colors. Mhm.
it's like back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So it's
cool.
that transition.
Like we did Neon Dynasty like further into the future in Kamigawa, and this would be like a prequel. Okay. All right. I like that. It's like the Brothers War kind of. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I could
They're playing with timelines on these different like old school sets, and
hmm
it's generally worked pretty well. So
It's true.
looking forward to this.
Yeah. Not only are they playing with timelines, but now they're even playing with do we even need to go to sets or planes at all? What if we just go to the space, the end of space?
This one,
So,
this one concerns me a little
all
bit. I
right.
I
So
don't know anything about I don't know if further details were shared. I only know the name of the set and had
there's a
a
couple
bit of an
pictures, but
allergic reaction to it.
well, do you to this one of all the
Yeah,
sets?
yeah.
We in like end of July, early August, we're gonna get Edge of Eternities, which is it's considered the space opera set. We already knew about this as well. Um, and this is basically like it takes place in between planes on the edge of the blind eternities, basically.
Okay,
Uh,
but does this mean there's Eldrazi in this set?
I don't know.
Because they live in the Blind Eternities, you know?
We'll have to find out. I haven't seen any pictures of Eldrazi, so I
That's
don't
what
know.
concerns me the most.
Well, I
Space
know.
Odyssey, whatever. I don't care about that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's not my thing, but like, yeah, we knew about that. It's cool. This is like, there's going to be aliens in your Space Odyssey, and so I've always been worried, is that going to be Eldrazi? And this makes me think it is going to be, and
Maybe it'll
I
just
don't
be
like
like
Eldrazi.
against the elements and the sci-fi tech stuff.
Hope,
Because
hope so.
if we're talking about like, I think it was a space opera might have been the word I thought,
Sorry,
but
yes, Space Opera. You said
well,
that, and then I
well,
changed it to
well,
Space
as soon as
Odyssey.
you said Space Odyssey, I started thinking about 2001: A Space Odyssey, which has a lot of like man versus machine stuff, and
Mhm.
will our ship let us back inside the ship kind of thing, or does the ship hate us now? Like, so that's kind of an interesting look at stuff. It feels a little Duskmorn y, but anyway, those all seem pretty interesting. They are pushing the boundaries. Like Tarkir is obviously like our most at home set, I think.
Yeah.
Aether Drift is like that's kind of funky, and Blind Eternities or Edge of Eternities is like I don't
Oh
really
my
know.
God.
I have no idea.
Would you say they're pushing the boundaries to the edge?
They sure are. Yeah, they're going to other universes and beyond
Oh my
that.
God.
Because if you haven't heard the upsetting news, we buried the lead a little bit at the beginning of this episode, but we are getting a bunch of universes beyond sets, but things are different this time. So we knew that Final Fantasy was coming out in the summer. We knew about that. However, all the other universes beyond sets have been straight to modern cards. And because of that, Wizards has found out that players have really enjoyed those sets. They love the Lord of the Rings set a lot.
Mhm.
But they were kind of frustrated when they found out that, oh, I can't play these Lord of the Rings cards in standard. Why can't I do that? I have to play modern, which is prohibitively very expensive and hard to get into because of the mana bases and everything. And then it didn't do exactly the thing that they were hoping. So Hasbro, so Hasbro has decided that Universes Beyond will now, going forward, be standard legal, which means it's fully on Arena, it's in standard, in Pioneer, in Modern, all of it, and we're also getting we're doing half and half Universes Beyond, half Magic IP. And they're using the word Magic IP now, which is scary because before it used to just be Magic. And
Yeah.
now Magic is just considered an IP that Magic cards sometimes do.
Okay. So I have a few questions for you off the bat.
Okay.
You say 50-50, right?
Yes.
I might be wrong, but historically, Universes Beyond has not always been a full set, right? Like sometimes
Correct.
they just release like mini sets or like
Hmm.
packages of cards and whatever. So are we talking 50-50 in terms of like set or
Number of cards.
products, but
Hmm.
probably not in number of cards, right?
So I think that is yet to be announced.
Okay. So they
I
just said
know.
50-50 and we're like, what does that mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're just kind of speculating at this moment. We know that Final Fantasy is a full set. We do know that. The
Mhm.
Final Fantasy will be the same size as like Lord of the Rings or something, which was a
Right.
full draftable set and a whole
Okay.
thing. We also found out that we are getting a Spider-Man set after Edge of Eternities. That will be in the fall, sometime probably September. Uh, that isn't super new. We knew that we were going into Marvel stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it's a good point that you're making. We don't know how big these sets are. I was talking to a friend of mine who was kind of mentioning like maybe they are smaller. Maybe a majority of them are just reprints that are skins in the other universe. And there is a good chunk of new cards, but a lot of like the combat tricks or like the spells and things will be just reskins of old cards that we will just get introduced to standard. Or like,
Yeah.
hey, it's just divination again or whatever. Or like we just said, cancel or refute or whatever, but it's the Spider-Man version, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
the creatures, like Spider-Man, is
has
gonna
to be
be
new.
a new card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a big chunk of it that has to be new. But there is kind of a possibility that there's a good chunk of reprints.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's kind of wishful thinking. I guess
Especially
we
since they just like released the set that is like, hey, we don't have to do stock reprints in our new sets anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess Jeff, we kind of skipped over the biggest thing, but like I'm sad. I'm like really sad about this. This has put a big damper on the world championship and a lot of the week. And I remember we started this podcast like right around the time when the secret layer for Walking Dead came out. Like
It's true,
that was
yeah. And
years
we
ago.
were
That was
like,
like,
I don't care.
yeah. I mean, like I was a bit worried about it, but you had kind of brought me around to be like, it's not really doing anything. Like it's
Not
not
not for
really,
us, right?
yeah, not
Yeah, it
for us,
was
not
like
for arena players. Standard that was like, it wasn't even modern legal. It was like legacy had issues, maybe.
right. It was commander players mostly, I think, that were
Mm-hmm.
upset by it. Um,
Because commander players play with all the cards. So, and slowly it kind of crept its way into modern, and now it jumped into standard a lot faster than I thought. I think at the back of my mind, I kind of knew it was going to happen, but like it was a big shock for me this weekend, and it made me feel really sad. It kind of went like I really don't go to the place of like I don't want to play Magic anymore. I'm not going to do this. But this weekend was a lot of like, am I just not
yeah,
gonna do this thing anymore? This has been a huge hobby in my entire life. Like, am I just gonna
right.
stop? Like,
Yeah, I get that. You know, I I kind of thought this was coming in the back of my head as well. Like I wasn't
mhm,
actively thinking about it. I thought I had a lot more time.
yeah,
Like I was like, eventually, yeah, these cards are going to be everywhere, and they're just going to put them in standard. I did not think it was like now. I thought we're
mhm,
talking years away. But I too was sad. I don't like this. This doesn't line up with what Magic is to me.
mhm,
The only thing I'll say is, or on this front, is like whatever you're feeling right now about this announcement, that's what you're feeling, right?
mhm,
That's a valid reaction to
yeah,
a huge change like this. The only thing is I'm seeing a little bit of like you were saying, oh, you're considering, hey, it might be a possibility that I don't like this hobby isn't for me anymore because they've shifted gears, whatever. I think that's a possibility, but I don't think we should be like some people are like, ah, that's it. I'm quitting Magic. It's like,
mhm,
well, this hasn't even actually happened yet. Like
exactly. It's just an announcement.
play with it a little bit. Maybe there are fewer universes beyond cards than you think there are going to be. Maybe most of them don't actually matter in a competitive sense. Like maybe it
Mhm.
just doesn't show up as much as you're currently thinking it's going to, or maybe it does and it actually doesn't bother you as much as it
As you
you think
thought.
it's going to. Like let it play out.
Hmm.
It's fine to be like, hey, I know myself. I'm pretty sure this is gonna like how I would react to this, have some contingency plans or whatever. But that's the only thing I would encourage is like I personally know I don't think I want to be playing Magic against Spider-Man, to be
Hmm.
honest. But I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go
Hmm.
play. Like I'm not just going to boycott the game and like, I love this game. I've played it a long time. I'm gonna play and let it naturally happen. Let it be like, ah. Yeah, I'm really not enjoying playing against Spider-Man and uh, the guy from Final Fantasy VII, whose name is eluding me at the
Was it
moment with the big
Cloud or Sephiroth?
cloud. Yeah. Um, I was thinking of Cloud. Like maybe it'll bother me less than I think it will right now. I'm gonna see. But yeah, I'm bummed for
Yeah.
sure.
Like it's hard. I mean, like I was literally thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna like right before this Foundations is coming out, I'm like, sick. This is the best thing I want for like standard. I want to buy into this. I said I
I
want to buy a
know, I was so
box. I want
hyped
like
on Foundation.
I
Like
like I want to play a bunch of paper standard, you know? And then
that's
this
the killer.
announcement happens and I'm like, should I invest into this format if I don't want to play it in 6 months? Like I
Right.
don't, and that's what's hard.
That part's super valid as well, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
Because
that's like a tangible thing of
mhm.
should you buy a bunch, should you buy that new standard deck that you were thinking about buying if it
Or
actually is a real possibility that you just suddenly don't like it.
yeah, like I don't know. And so I was literally thinking like, well, I guess I'll still play Magic, but I'll just be a limited gamer now. Like I'll just stop playing constructed. Because if you're a limited player, you get to choose. You can say like, oh, I
Yeah.
just don't play Universes Beyond. I won't play Final Fantasy. I'll play Tarkir Dragonstorm. You know, I'll do that instead. That'll be the way I engage with this game. And I think that that's also very valid. There's also a
Yeah.
million ways to play Magic. Like you can play Vintage Cube. Like maybe some stuff will come into it, but like you can make your own cube. You can play Popper. You can play with your friends and make up your own format. If you have enough people, you could just play like standard without Universes Beyond. Like there is the thing about Magic is that you can really do whatever you want. So as far as paper goes, you can just decide I'm going to curate my own world. I'm going to make my own cube that has nothing to do with Universes Beyond, and we'll just play that, and it'll just be the cards I like, and my friends like them too, and it's great. And like
Yeah.
maybe you just don't have to buy cards. Maybe you just proxy all of them. Like you know, there are different ways to engage with it. I'm not saying that you have to do those things, and I also understand that you could just stop playing altogether. Like that's also fine, but there's also a lot of people really excited about this too, which is not me, but I have seen people that like Final Fantasy that are so stoked for the Final Fantasy set. Like Shivam Bot on Twitter literally said, like, he's like, I am extremely excited for Final Fantasy, and I'm really unexcited for Spider-Man, and I think that that's terrible for Magic, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I love the Final Fantasy games and I don't care about Spider-Man at all. Like as a joke, like obviously that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
It's
Like
it's the only thing it is, yeah.
yeah, so like I didn't play Final Fantasy very much, so I have no. It just rarely means. It just doesn't mean anything to me. So like,
Yeah.
I won't get the jokes on the cards. You know, I won't get the little things, and so it's like some people just kind of talk to me about it. And what like there's a portion of my brain that's like, if I start playing with these cards, am I just going to want to play Final Fantasy now and then get into it, or will it push me away? And knowing myself, I'll probably actually be kind of interested in just playing the
Yeah.
games, which I don't have time for. So I actually actively don't want to do that.
That's like the outcome you don't want.
Yeah, but it
I think
is.
I
I don't
think the
know.
limited point is a really good one too, because limited is completely different context in the sense of when you play limited for a Universes Beyond set, it is now
Hmm.
self-contained. Because part of the thing is like, oh, I'm playing like in standard and there's Spider-Man and there's Cloud and then
Yeah.
there's a magic creature and
Hmm.
like that's weird. Like drafting Lord of the Rings
Didn't feel weird.
was it was
Hmm.
kind of like it's cool to see this universe in the Magic rules system.
Hmm.
Now, maybe the novelty of that wears off when
It
Universes
happens though.
Beyond is just like all the time. You're just always
Yeah.
drafting it. And even then, I didn't draft Lord of the Rings all that much. Partially that was because I don't have a use for these cards.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe it will be. Hey, it's cool to see this universe in, the Magic rule set. And now the cards are actually applicable, so maybe I would draft it more for the ones that I like. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
if a
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat one came out, I'd be
I
like, yeah, I'll
mean,
draft the shit out of that.
that was the
But
biggest thing that I was thinking. Like, I have a buddy who like is part of like he loves a bunch of the Universe Beyond stuff, but that's because he played like Warhammer or he played Fallout and like Assassin's Creed, and those are games that he loves and was like so excited for all the little things in it. I didn't
Right.
play any of those things. I don't know anything. I did watch Lord of the Rings a lot, and I really do like that. And so that set was really cool for me, and I knew a bunch of the characters already, and I got the jokes, and it was even though I didn't have a use for the cards, I still enjoyed drafting it and playing with them.
Yeah.
And I really liked that one. And it didn't feel weird that Orcish Bowmasters was a card in Magic because it just felt like a Magic card because orcs are also in Magic, right? So
Yeah.
that
The
was
One Ring does,
that one
every time
feels
I play against it, I'm like, well,
like
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't
Um,
help.
well, that's one thing. Okay, so part of Wizards' reasoning behind doing standard. So like we already talked about players who are getting into Magic. Universes Beyond is specifically a product to try to get new players to play the game, and that way they'll start playing Magic. They
Yeah.
were confused about what was legal, blah 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 blah. The other thing that they were saying is that if they can make Universes Beyond standard legal, it also means that they're going to make them standard power level. So they're having a really hard time making sets specifically for modern, and they are actually doing, I actually like this point that they're saying, hey, we're fucking up. Like Modern Horizons, all of them, we've like fucked up with cards.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings that was straight to modern, fucked up with cards because they're like we're trying to make sure that we can get cards that were powerful enough to be worth playing in modern, but not so powerful that they blow everything out of the water or get banned. And they've banned a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Like
it did not thread that needle.
they have not been able to do that. And they are saying, hey, this is too difficult. We don't have the resources to do this correctly, but we can like make cards for standard. And we have those barometers set. So if we were able to do this for standard, those cards won't be so dramatically, like so crazy good that they'll take over the format. And they can just live with the other cards is
Yeah.
something they've said. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't know. But that is something that has been voiced. And I like that sentiment.
And that makes sense to me. I don't even think they're even necessarily thinking about that the right way. Like it's not about design skill or anything like that. I think it's just this is what modern is.
Hmm.
It is the best of the best
Yeah.
that should just happen organically, right? Like
Yeah.
you print a set of cards, some of them are better than others, and then the ones that are like really like cheap but efficient,
Hmm.
they might even be good standard cards, but they find their way into modern. The way they've had to do, if you're going straight to modern and you do want power creep. Power creep is something they want.
Hmm.
They
To
have to
sell.
control it. It's
Yeah.
almost like inflation, right? It's like something we is gonna happen
Hmm.
and we have to control it. But it's like if you're going straight to modern, you're designing cards with that in mind, right? And like I don't think at that point it's modern anymore. Like modern is
Hmm.
supposed to be we printed these cards. We didn't just make one crazy powerful because, hey, it's crazy powerful. We made a healthy balance. And then over time, these ones have merged with other ones and become this really cool deck. Or like, more and more efficient cards matter more. And like, it's less about raw power level, which
Hmm.
is less meaningful and standard. Like all those kind of things. That's what old legacy formats are. That's what they're
Hmm.
supposed to be. And modern was specifically designed because it's like, hey, back in the day, the cards were just too strong.
Hmm.
So, like, we've readjusted our power level, and now they've kind of taken modern the opposite direction. So,
Yeah.
I agree with what they're saying that like we shouldn't design straight to modern products. I think probably PR kind of move. They presented it as like it's a difficult design decision, and we don't have the designers to do that. And I'm like, that's just not even really what it is. You just shouldn't be doing that. That's just
Yeah.
like
No, 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 exactly.
modern should be something that accumulates over time as the best of the best
I
from
also think
different sets.
Wizards just needs to know that like the thing that people really love about Magic, besides the IP and the whatever, the dragons and all that stuff, they really like seeing something that's meant for one thing and then they found a different way to use it and
Right.
they feel smart doing that and then they get to do this clever thing with this deck. And that's what a lot of modern stuff was, is that like, hey, these cards you didn't make with us in mind, but we get to take them and
Right.
use them for this thing. And then
Right.
I
Like
think,
this combo is two cards that were printed 10 years apart. You
yeah,
weren't thinking about that.
but I found it and I was the one who figured it out and now I get to go win a tournament with it. Like that is what it's about. That's the exciting thing and that's what those old like formats are about and how fun they can be. And I think that Wizards just sees that and then start to try to manufacture it themselves and it just ruins
Right.
it. Like all Commander players know exactly what I'm talking about, where they started to make
Yeah, yeah.
Commander cards specifically for that. It made the like discovery like it
Mhm.
just kind of it's just gone. It just
And
kind
it's
of
and it's interesting because they know full well, I've heard, Maros talk about it before, of that like feel clever or feel smart
hmm
aspect of their game is part of what
hmm
one of the many things people really love about it. So
yeah,
they know that's there. I think you're exactly right that trying to manufacture it makes it inauthentic and
yeah.
it doesn't work that way really.
And I think that this is a good also jumping off point as far as like players want to feel clever and they also just want to be, I think, respected as a, I don't know, a player, as an audience member. I mean, like this is a thing that happens in entertainment all the time. But another concern about Universes Beyond products is just like the designs will be kind of kitschy or like stapled together. So
Yeah.
um, it's like we recently had seen some Marvel cards that came out, and Storm came out as an X-Men who's there. I think it's Teamer colors or something. And Storm has Storm, like Storm helps your spells Storm. And that's like, yeah. Oh, Wolverine has regeneration, like literally old regeneration. Like, yep,
Yeah.
that's his ability, and that's like, how fun is that really gonna be? Like, when you see it a couple times, it's kind of cute and cool. But then, like, are the designs going to feel very like kind of smushed together, like, hey, here's this universe that doesn't necessarily live by the magic color pie and we're going to kind of smush them into it, or like
Hmm.
just it doesn't, they don't feel super organic. It's just kind of like, oh, that's a cute joke, like all the things I was saying earlier about how I'm gonna like I don't get the jokes. Well, maybe that's the only thing that the set has, is like just a bunch of kind of jokes. And then once you read it once, you're like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then like it doesn't have a lot of substance after that.
Yeah.
That which we'll have to see. I don't really know. I think some people have felt uh, about some of the sets kind of like that. We'll go into it. I mean, like I don't know how many Spider-Man could have reach before I'm like, okay, I get it. He's a fucking spider.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a good transition to like, okay, so what they're saying, what they're actually saying makes sense. They need an onboarding product to bring
mhm,
in new players. It does not make sense that that onboarding product doesn't feed in to like the onboarding constructed format.
format, yes.
That's a that's a good point
hmm
that you can't really say anything about, right? And from a business perspective, yeah, you have to be thinking about growth. You have to be
hmm
thinking about like how do you get new customers? And they've identified that Universes Beyond is really good at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like Lord of the Rings was the best-selling Magic set of all time by a lot. Like, and that was the reason we keep bringing that up, is because that is the set that was like, are we going to do this or not? And because it was so phenomenal and it just really exploded, and like the world started being like, oh, Magic is doing like a Lord of the Rings thing. Like people would talk to me about this,
Yeah, yeah.
like that didn't know about Magic really, but they knew what Lord of the
And the
Rings
stupid
was.
Willy Wonka thing works too, I
It
think.
did. Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. The One Ring, the one of One Ring. People started sending me messages on Facebook I hadn't talked to since like high school. Be like, "Oh, you played this game, right? This is crazy."
And they got pretty lucky that Post Malone bought it too, like that.
hmm
Or
So
whatever. I don't know if that's luck. Maybe they were like, maybe Post Malone will buy it because
yeah,
he's
they thought
rich and loves
somebody might.
magic. But yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like that was huge. And so all of this is in direct correlation to what that like what had happened with Lord of the Rings.
And I think we talked about it when Lord of the Rings came out, like, hey,
Hmm.
this is a test,
Hmm.
right? To see what happens when they do this.
Hmm. And so, like, this is also a test. You know, they're starting to put it into standard. If these sets tank hard, they'll know and they will pull the plug. You know, they will
But
pivot.
and here's what I was going to say. Look, their test is flawed, and they know this.
Hmm.
Their test is flawed because they chose Lord of the Rings, right?
Hmm.
They chose the fact that it was designed for modern means
Hmm.
they were allowed to make more powerful cards than they're going to be allowed later, and so
Hmm.
new players are coming in playing with these super powerful
Hmm.
cards. Uh, but like Lord of the Rings doesn't feel weird coming from the
Hmm.
very similar fantasy
Fantasy worlds,
background.
yeah,
Like it just matches. And so basically they're like basing this all their argument is
it's huge.
based
It's
on
true.
a
It's true.
test that is quite biased.
Hmm.
They obviously know that. They've still made the decision to do it. So they have tried to understand, okay, like what's the reality here? Like
Hmm.
we're not going to get a Lord of the Rings every Universes Beyond, obviously. You know, in the same way you're not going to get like the record-breaking Spider-Man movie every time you release a new movie.
Yeah,
But
into the
it's
Spider Verse, but
still well, I was even thinking like way back when Tobey Maguire was
oh,
like
Toby's
topping the and then like Marvel just like exploded after that because they were like, hey, I know that
well,
that was Sony, I know, but like
yeah, yeah. Technically, that was Iron Man, but yes, 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 yes. I know what you mean.
yeah, whatever one like blew up and it was like, okay, we can just make every movie Iron Man and we'll be good to
Yes,
go.
that was it. Yeah.
Um, it feels like a similar thing, and the thing is that worked. So it's
Hmm.
like, they're just making a reasonable business move. And the reality is they're kind of saying we're going to choose growth
Hmm.
over our enfranchised customers. And there's a lot of reasons to do that. One of which is that most of the enfranchised customers will get mad but stay.
Hmm.
And so,
And we'll get
like,
so many more new players than the ones who actually leave. Then
yeah,
it won't.
like
It's.
just being in a business and like
Mhm.
I actually work in what's called customer acquisitions, which is literally like growing your business. You make a lot of these decisions where you're like, yeah, it'll piss off some people in the back, but what are they gonna like? They're gonna stay. They're just gonna like bitch about it a little bit, and then we're gonna
Mhm.
grow like crazy. And
Yeah.
it's literally just a good business move.
And
And
this,
sometimes you do that.
I mean, like,
And like you can blame Hasbro all you want, but they might
mhm.
actually be making the right move for the game here.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, Wizards and Hasbro, like, I do feel like every time there's a Universes Beyond update, I hear Hasbro in my mind talking about it, and every time there's like a Magic set or like Aether Drift or something, it feels like it's WotC. Like Foundations
Right.
feels like it's WotC,
Yeah.
but Final Fantasy feels like Hasbro. That's just like what my mind is doing now. Whether that's true or not, obviously that's not true because WotC has to make the sets because they know Magic. Um, but both of them have the same thing in mind that like they're not interested in Magic dying. Like neither of them is interested in Magic just like it might feel like they're squeezing every last cent out of us, which it does, but they're not interested in that ever stopping.
Yeah.
You know, neither of them are. So even if I think Hasbro is trying to just roll me up like a tube of toothpaste and then just toss me in the trash can, they will never want to toss me away because they want me to stay so I can keep giving them money. So
But this is one of those decisions where I don't feel like they're doing that because like I'm not going to buy these products really.
that's
But
true.
so it's they're not trying to squeeze as much out of me. They're just trying to squeeze stuff from other people.
Unless
And
there's a card that you have to buy from these sets that like go into your whatever. Like we play on Arena, right? Like we have to
yeah.
we draft all the set. That's how we get our cards. So like what do I just like skip Final Fantasy and I just don't have any of the cards from Final Fantasy? So now I have to blow all my wild cards on Final Fantasy cards that are in the meta. Like that's annoying.
As someone who inadvertently does this, it's doable. Like I didn't draft any Bloomborough. I just craft the ones I want from Bloomborough, and I draft enough of the sets that I do draft that
Yeah, but what about if
it works.
like what if there's like half of the year you're not drafting? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a point where it will start to feel hard. Or
Yeah,
be like,
I
oh,
guess it depends.
I'll
Like,
just look at deck lists and be like, how many Universes Beyond cards are in this? I guess I can't play that deck
nah.
because I'm not going to craft
Yeah,
those cards.
yeah.
But
It's
like,
already kind of a thing that happens though, where I'm just like, oh, like that is part of it. I'll look at a set, I'm
mhm,
like, this is like mostly, March of the Machines.
mhm,
Didn't play that one. Like,
yeah,
we're not gonna craft this. Uh, and I think that's okay. Like as we get to a standard environment, I don't think we talked about this part explicitly, but it's in our Discord channel. But standard is going to be like freaking massive, like
mhm,
6,000 cards or something.
yeah.
Um,
Where like in comparison to like years past, like Laura Windblock was like 1,200 or something.
yeah,
Not
like
even. Is it? Oh yeah, it was like 1,200. Yeah, because each
yeah,
set's
we're
like
just going to
200
get bigger
something.
and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so it's going to feel more and more like an Eternal format, which is
Hmm.
like you would never expect to have every modern deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely not.
Um, Now, scale there is definitely a little different, but
Of
I
course.
think mostly it's just, the way I played, I like to play personally standard and explorer slash pioneer, I guess. I
Hmm.
also do like to draft, but like if I had to pick my favorites, standard and pioneer, and I usually like swap between them depending on how I'm feeling or what the metagame, which deck I'm excited about. And so these sets coming in and just like slapping both those formats in the face is kind of
Hmm.
like a bummer for me. But it just means that my guess is it just means that the way I interact with the game is going to be a little different
Hmm.
moving forward. Just because it won't be exactly what I do now doesn't mean at all is ruined, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people tend to think this is exactly how I play now, and this is going to affect
That
that.
specific thing.
So
Yeah.
Magic is
Done.
over.
Yeah.
It's like just let it happen organically because maybe you don't draft now, but you will later. Like
Hmm.
maybe this is the reason you start drafting, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's another thing that people always talk about, like, oh, I don't want Magic to just be like Fortnite, which happens. Like people say that constantly. It's like the idea is that Fortnite is a game that has a bunch of like you can buy skins for characters so they look like they're in Marvel or like whatever random thing that's like cool right now. Um, which to me doesn't feel right because I feel like skins like that would be like if I could have like Kaito, but he looked like I don't know, it was in Mortal Kombat, right? But it's the same
Mhm.
card. It just he just looks different. That's what a skin is. That's what Fortnite does. It feels much more like Monopoly, where that's a Hasbro game, but Monopoly just like takes an existing engine and just changes it a little bit and it has a flavor of another world, but it's still that game. This feels much more by like Monopoly, which I don't like Monopoly. Monopoly is not a good game. It's just actually horrible. But
Yeah. Uh, I
anyway, it's
agree
just
on that one.
yeah, just the Fort notification. All those tweets have just been bugging me so much because it just feels like they're incorrect.
And I think like what mostly people seem to be objecting to, like I don't know why you would object to that other than the whole like cash grab aspect of,
Hmm.
but from the sense of the same card, it just looks different and you pay for that. Magic already does that.
It's true.
Like
We do a lot of
we
that.
already have
Hmm.
5 different versions of the
Of
same
everything.
Liliana, and you have to pay for 4 of them.
Actually, this is a
Like,
really good thing that you're talking about. Not just with like the different versions of cards, but Wizards has been buttering us up for this. They've been preparing us. Like a lot of people, like their biggest thing is like, hey, Final Fantasy and Spider-Man aren't really that different. Where like our Magic sets are like people in hats.
yeah,
Everybody's got a cowboy now, or like
that's true.
this set Duskmourn. There's a lot of people that were upset with this set because it feels too 80s and there's like cell phones and like cheerleaders and stuff.
That's
Like
true. They've
they're
been
like
pushing the boundaries of the Magic IP to
it's
make
like
it feel less weird.
Aether Drift. We have this weird like wacky race battle thing, and then
Right.
the
So
Edge
when
of
they do Star
Eternities.
Wars, it doesn't feel weird. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like we've already been here. We were in space already in Magic space, but now we're in Star Wars space. So that's which and so it's a way of them trying to get us ready for this. It's like we're the frog in the water that's the pot that's boiling, and we don't realize the temperature's rising because they don't
Yeah.
throw us in the boiling water.
Right.
It's kind of like that, but I like you bringing up Star Wars specifically because this is a theory that I've had. I talked about this in our Discord, but um, I don't know if this is the beginning of a power play by Hasbro, but slowly doing different IPs. Like Final Fantasy, they don't have a card game of their own, but Final Fantasy is in the anime world, and a lot of those animes have their own card games. Dragon Ball Z had his own card game. Pokemon, obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh, those are huge ones. We have a One Piece is a new card game. Like all those stuff, like they've had that stuff. I think Chainsaw Man, which is an anime that has a card game now, like there's a bunch of those out there. And if Magic starts being like, well, we can take that. Like Lord of the Rings used to have a card game, and then it also had a living card game. Both of those were like actual Lord of the Rings world games, and they just
Yeah.
I'll have the IP now, and I'll make it into my game. And they could slowly be doing this. Star Wars Unlimited, that's a new card game that's been rising in popularity. If they decided to, like, they would have to work with Disney, which is really difficult, except for the fact that they're already working with like Marvel.
Marvel.
So
Yeah.
it's that's owned by Disney, so there's a possibility they could sneak in there with Lucasfilms or Lucas Studios or whatever and just be like, "Hey, we want to have some Star Wars stuff in our game." And then they slowly start taking away other card games. Like Star Wars Unlimited is now part of us. One Piece is part of us. Pokemon is now part of us. Yu-Gi-Oh is part of us, and then like Lorcana and Flesh and Blood, like they're just like
League of Legends.
League of Legends. It's just like all of it is just like Magic is the best system, as they'll say, and all of your characters are in our game, but we have the game. You know what I mean?
Right. Trying to be the universal card game.
The TCG, the best of the first one and the best one, basically.
Mhm.
And they know that history that they're the first one, and they do need to remember that. So Foundations feels like they're trying to remind everyone, hey, we are the first one and the best one. These are our foundations. And if you ever don't like playing with Universes Beyond, you get to play with Foundations for 5 years. Just play Shivan Dragon and Llanowar Elves. You can forget about all those other Final Fantasy Spider-Man cards. You don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah. That's definitely for sure what's happening. I think
Hmm.
internally they have that pipe dream as the like thing they're saying. It's like the one card game.
Yeah. I could see Hasbro being like, if we could do this, dreams don't have to be realistic, but I
No,
think that's
they
definitely
shouldn't be a lot of
a
the
lot of
time.
times. And I think that this is a dream of Hasbro's is to be
Yeah.
the only card game. And this is kind of a way that they start to tread into that. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of goes moving forward. But I will say we have like this secret layer of like Marvel cards. And if the Spider-Man set looks like these Marvel cards, like most of the artwork looks like the comic books, and they actually seem cool. And it reminds me of the Lord of the Rings that I was excited because it didn't look like the movie. It didn't like they did like a D&D when that movie came out, whatever, Dungeons and Dragons, something, something, Honor Among Thieves. I think that's what the movie's called. They made a secret layer with a bunch of those characters from the movie, and they all looked exactly like the actors, and it
Mhm.
felt really weird. It was like,
Yeah.
this is bizarre.
Right.
But these Marvel ones, Captain America does not look like Chris Evans. We don't
Mhm.
have, RDJ as Iron Man. It's Spider-Man hopefully won't look like Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. It'll just be like, that's Peter Parker or Miles Morales from the cartoon, because if he looks like the cartoon, it'll feel normal to me. It just don't look like a real person. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. The real people as magic cards is a new boundary that I am unwilling to cross, but
Yeah.
at the moment.
We'll find out. When we get the James Bond ones, it'll be fine. We'll
Yeah.
have our Pierce Brosnan and our, Sean Connery. So that's kind of one thing.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We got a Sherlock Holmes one. We've talked about Mortal Kombat a couple times, but like, are there? It seems like with Universes Beyond, everyone is against it until there's their favorite IP, right? Until it's like, ooh, but you're gonna do that though. I do like that one. I'll buy the shit out of that.
Yeah.
So everyone's a little bit of like a hypocrite in ways. So we've already mentioned that Mortal Kombat was one of our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Are there other ones that would be like, well, if they did this, that would be pretty cool?
So first off, comment I'll have is like, if Universes Beyond was not a thing that's taking over, and you were like, what do you think if they make a Mortal Kombat Magic set? I'd be like, that's weird, fuck off.
Hmm.
It's once you've already broken the barrier into the realm that they're going to do something. I would hope they at least do something I care about, right? So that's how they get you.
Hmm.
They just do it, and now it's a thing they do, and now you can get excited about the one that
Hmm.
you're excited about.
Because
But like if
I,
if this was a new idea, no universes beyond, and they're like, we're gonna do a Mortal Kombat set, I'd be like, fuck off, don't do that. Like that's weird,
mm.
you know?
But Jeff, imagine a glorious summer where the new Mortal Kombat game comes out at the same time as the Magic Universe of Beyond set comes out. And not only do we get Mortal Kombat in Magic, but we get Magic in Mortal Kombat. We get to be Gideon and Jace fighting Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Like, because Mortal Kombat already takes other IPs and puts it in their game. They have a bunch of
Yeah.
DC ones. They have Freddy and Jason. They have like what is it, the Terminator? Like uh, all that stuff is already in their games. So as long as Watsy would be okay with Chandra getting the like her guts ripped out, like I
I
would
would
be. I like. I know it's not big enough for their game. You know, there's not enough people that know that character. But if there was one, if you had like Jace as a character or something,
oh, you get to
or
rip out Jace's like skull.
Magic players would love that. You know what I mean? Like they, especially a character that they don't like Jace, basically.
Yeah.
They would be so stoked. Like, like that. Not even just a skin, like an actual character. Of course, a skin of like if you could be Chandra, but you're actually like Kung Lao or Liu Kang. Sorry,
I was like,
not
Kung Lao
not
is
not
super
Kung
weird.
Lao.
What? Which is,
Yeah, for Chandra. Sorry, no, that's Chandra with a cowboy hat.
yeah. Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. Because if they did that, I
Hmm.
could kick your ass at two different games at the same
Oh,
time.
at the same time?
Yeah.
Really? So you're playing both?
Yeah, we're dual teaming here.
Wow. Wow. That's rude. That's just because one time Jeff beat me with Jade. And
Yeah,
it's,
Jade's my girl.
I know. But anyway, I want to see how far they can push Secret Lair. Or, sorry, a Universes Beyond. Like, if they're going to go for this, like, are we just doing like anime and cartoons and like fantasy stuff? Or are we getting into like how many horror movies can we do? Can we go into like a bunch of like my favorite stuff is like all film based or like, TV shows and stuff. But like someone was saying on Twitter, like what are like five universes beyond IPs that like girls would be excited about? And the first three I thought of was like, well, if you had like Grey's Anatomy, Universes
Hmm.
Beyond, you have Gilmore Girls, Universes Beyond,
Sure.
and True Crime Podcast, Universes Beyond. Like, what would
Yeah, yeah. Just generic, like,
can we
yeah.
get like pumpkin spice latte ones? I mean, like if they made a Universes Beyond like Oktoberfest, like just everyone's like drinking beer, like
Yeah. I'd
that
be
would
in.
sell like hotcakes over here. They make a disc golf Universes Beyond. Like
No,
I'd be all over some of that shit.
what we need is the Gilmore Girls in the Mortal Kombat games so you
Mm.
can rip their heads off.
No, so Lorelai would be she would be like a skin of what's Banshee? What is it? She like screams.
Oh, Sindel.
Sindel, yeah. And so she
Yeah.
just like talks and talks and talks and talks. And the character's like,
Until your face blows off.
yeah, yeah. Like that would be hilarious. I would love that. Um
I feel like I'm learning that Mortal Kombat should really tap into this universes beyond idea,
yeah, we should
even more than they're doing, you
yeah, we
know?
should get whatever that studio is. I don't even know. Have them
Uh,
talk with Hasbro and get it
I think
going.
they're actually called NetherRealm Studios.
Oh, NetherRealm. Right, right, right. I was gonna say Noob Saibot, but like,
Yeah, invert that,
yeah, yeah,
flip it around.
yeah. But anyway, kind of a tangent into that, but like other ones
Yeah.
are like obviously like we went to Strixhaven, but Harry Potter, like that had a card game. and they're
Mhm.
interested in continuing to give J.K. Rowling money. So I'm sure that that's a possibility.
You know,
Like,
one that I think could fit pretty well is The Witcher. If you get like,
right? So they had a card game,
do they?
right?
Oh yeah, they have Gwent, of course.
Gwent, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's such a good game too. But like just that dark fantasy theme, it's probably a little too dark for Magic. It's
Hmm.
on the Mortal Kombat level of like I don't think they would ever do this because it's maybe too dark. Um, but that's an IP that I like and I wouldn't
Hmm.
hate that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we're talking about other IPs that had card games. Like you said, League of Legends earlier, right?
Yeah.
They had a card game, but that's gone now, right? Didn't that like implode?
Oh, I don't know. Last time I checked on it, it wasn't doing well though.
Yeah, I think that it ended up was it Legends of Runeterra? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That ended up going down. So like they could just take that IP, stick it in Magic.
Yeah.
Like I could see
Man,
that
it
being
shows how tough it is out there because that was a pretty good game.
it
And
was pretty
like
good.
the software itself was
Hmm.
nice, like really easy to use and well developed. And they put a lot of
Yeah, it's just the
clearly put
combat
some
system
they
was
clearly put a lot of more like money behind that or effort behind that than Arena does.
Arena does for sure. But that was also the only way you could play that game, right?
Mhm.
So like if you're upset with the meta, like you're screwed. Like you can't do anything. As opposed to Magic where you're like, I'll just play draft with my friends. I'll make up my
Yeah,
own
we'll
format.
just do something else.
I'll
Yeah,
play this thing called Dan Dan and I invented it. Like
and I think that's where again, like the reason you love Magic is why I think it can survive this kind of change because we'll just do something else if
we'll
it
just do our
doesn't
own
tick.
thing.
If we don't end up liking it, we'll do something else. You know what
It's
I mean?
true. And like that's like the biggest thing with why a lot of friends that I had were just like, I don't want to play Arena. It's
Oh,
because they
there it is.
liked,
Friends, Universes Beyond.
ooh, I love that. Yeah,
They
that'd be
all look
perfect.
exactly like the actors.
Yeah, exactly like all the actors. We can have like the poking device. We have like all of the classic stuff.
The poking device.
Do you remember the poking device? They poke ugly
Oh
naked
yeah.
guy.
Best card in the set is Ugly Naked Guy.
Yeah, who is also a reskin of Snorlax. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Uh, so yeah, if they just do universes beyond sitcoms, like
Oh, for sure.
I think I would
Seinfeld, I'm
hate
all
it.
over that.
Oh yeah. No soup for you. That's the counterspell.
Oh man.
Like,
I'm laughing, but I think I would like that actually if there was a no soup for you
if
counter.
there was, I would buy you a playset and just send it straight to you. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm doing. So, like we say all this in jest, like, oh, they aren't going to have these types of things. But the reason we're kind of joking about it is because something that people have been really mad about this weekend is something we haven't actually mentioned yet, is that we're getting a SpongeBob secret layer, which to me is just like, okay, whatever.
I
That
didn't even
just,
know about this,
yeah,
but
it doesn't even matter. Like, but a lot of people like are fuming about like I'm gonna throw my Krabby Patty at your Spider-Man and blah blah, and they always add SpongeBob to it. I just
yeah,
want to say, SpongeBob's a secret layer. We've had a bunch of crazy
right.
secret layers that you never see
It's
cards
not
of. Like,
Universes Beyond. It's a different
it's not
thing.
a set. Like, it's not going to be on Arena. It's not like maybe they're no, we don't get anything from secret layers. Like there's going to be like 10 cards that are in standard or not standard, are in like commander, like and whatever. Like
Also, can I ask, like, what's up with SpongeBob stuff lately? Didn't Wendy's just release a Krabby Patty?
yeah, I feel like someone died or something and then they just like took over all their stuff.
Uh,
It's like,
Nickelodeon's really pushing SpongeBob for some reason.
well, they need all that money after the Dan Schneider stuff with the
Uh,
documentary, yeah.
that was a tough one.
Yeah. It's one of those tough things you're like, damn, I feel like I should have known this just from like watching all of the stuff, but like, and
Hmm.
now as an adult, I'm like, that's kind of fucked. I mean, like, obviously, it's very fucked, but like,
Very fucked. Yeah.
but like seeing the lines of like all these kids' TV shows that are doing these things that feel more adult, even like all that being like, We don't
Yeah.
need a kid Saturday Night Live. Let's just not, you know.
Hmm. Well,
Um, no.
who's watching that?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I mean, I was, but I was a kid, so
The only one I
uh,
remember being like, yeah, this was cool was Popular Mechanics for kids. That one
what
was like,
what is that?
oh, so they had the Popular Mechanics and then they had Popular Mechanics for kids, and
Ah,
it's like digestible science stuff,
mm,
basically. Um,
okay.
I watched a bit of that growing up, and I was like, they're making science cool. Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm a nerd. Do you think it all comes back to that?
No, I think it's that you like science.
Uh, could be.
It could be. Um, anyway, I'm a proud dork, which is the unsmart version of that. Um, anyway, the question you had about SpongeBob is that Steven Hillenburg, who's the creator of SpongeBob, did die, but he died in 2018, so it's been a while. But I
Mm.
think he was the one keeping the floodgates back. That they never did a Krabby Patty thing because he was pushing back on
Uh,
it. And classic, whenever someone dies, people just go crazy.
yeah.
Except for the only one, Catcher in the Rye, is still not a movie, which was a really big thing. So
Yeah, because that book could be a movie.
yeah, I just don't think it should be. But
I agree with that.
yeah, it would just
And I could totally see Salinger just being like, no, of course you cannot make this into a movie.
yeah, it
So
was like his biggest thing. I think like, and then it will just continue that all of his children are like, never any movie out of any of the books, never, ever, ever.
love it.
So anyway, he pushed back really hard against selling Krabby Patties because that's something they could have done a long time ago.
Right.
And I think he was just he didn't want to push SpongeBob. Like they worked at a fast food restaurant, but he didn't want to push it in fast food restaurants in real life
Hmm.
because he was all about. I don't, I don't think he was all about health, but someone was talking about how he just didn't like helping fast food restaurants. He's like, I just don't want to be part of that. Anyway,
I
since he's
mean, like, SpongeBob doesn't paint a positive picture of fast food restaurants. And it's like, you know what
well,
I mean? Like,
SpongeBob makes it seem like a fry cook is honorable and fun.
yeah,
So, um,
I think it was more th like the management, not necessarily SpongeBob.
oh, for sure, for sure. Oh yeah, you mean like yeah. Well, yeah,
Mr.
it's
Krabs or Krabby or whatever.
yeah, yeah. Mr. Krabs does a good job of like showing you that owners want money. I
Yeah.
don't know, like
I mean, it's pretty clear, you're right.
yeah,
So it's like, is he going to benefit the Mr. Krabs of the world? Because that's what selling a Krabby Patty would do.
exactly. Anyway, so that yeah, you're right on the money. Sold the Krabby Patty, and now they're selling Magic Cards as well. But that's I just wanted to bring that one up because I don't think that one's as big a deal as the other ones because it's not.
Hey, secret layers, I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I
Those are
don't
like
even look at them.
collector items, whatever.
I
But
don't know like they're kind of fun to look at sometimes, but like yeah,
sometimes they have really nice art,
pick
And I'm
one
like, that's
in like
cool.
of the whole year and buy that one maybe. But like
Yeah. And
them
if
coming
you
out with
do
the
love secret layers, like that's great. But you
yeah.
shouldn't be upset by a secret layer that you don't love because
Mhm.
just don't buy it, you
Yeah,
know?
unless it's Walking Dead, and then it brings us down this path that we are now on.
Yeah.
So,
What's the SpongeBob path? I bet it does not lead to Mortal Kombat, unfortunately.
it does not. It probably leads to like Rugrats and like I don't
Yeah,
know, Ren and
they're just trying to
Stimpy.
indoctrinate children at like an early age now.
It's like iCarly and
And they're
whatever
simplifying the
else.
rules. They're definitely going after the baby market.
Oh my gosh! Soon
How
you
do we
just
not see it?
well now it's going to be like you have two decks, one with lands and one with spells, and
Yeah.
you draw two cards a turn.
So it's Hearthstone.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants. I mean, like whenever they take the IP of Hearthstone, there you go.
Yeah. That's the end goal. The end goal is to vanquish the enemy.
It's kind of that's what it seems like. So, oh my gosh, Jeff. Anyway, I think that was a nice constructive conversation about this. we started this podcast wanting to make sure that we could be more of a voice of like reason and try to be a little bit more positive about stuff. There's a lot of hate out there and a lot of negativity about
Yeah.
many things in the world, and we didn't want to necessarily be one of those things.
Yeah.
But I also want to just point out that like I do think that like toxic positivity is a real thing, and
Right. And from day one, we've been trying to avoid that. It's
yeah.
like we want to be positive because there's so much negativity in the Magic community, in the world, but
Mhm.
also the Magic community in particular lends itself to
That
negativity.
hmm
But we're not going to lie. Like,
no.
I'm not going to tell you I think something's awesome when I don't, or
hmm
that I feel good about something when I don't,
hmm
So,
Yeah. So we may have put more of a nicer spin on this, but I think it's also because I've had a good like I don't know 6 days to process this. If we had recorded this right after the announcement,
oh
I
man,
it
that would
was
have been a wild
it
episode.
was a lot different. I was really really upset, and I'm still upset. Like I really am, but I would rather like things than not like things. Just
Yes, that lesson took me a long time to learn too.
mhm.
For me personally, I was always the like bit of a contrarian growing up, and then it just hit me one day. It's like it's way better to like things than to dislike things.
Yeah. It's
Now I'm
like
like the hard opposite,
mhm,
Just like my default is like popular stuff is popular because it's good,
mhm.
and it doesn't mean that I have to love it, but it's just, you know.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, this is like maybe I don't like this all the time or but I don't have to like just spend so much time and energy talking about how terrible it is because like that's not a fun character trait. Like
Right.
I know people that bug me because like, oh, they're always going on and on about how this thing is terrible and or this thing is great, but it's not good anymore because they knew it back then. And I don't
Totally.
really like I am nostalgic about old Magic, but I don't want to be the Magic player that's like, ugh, none of this is good anymore. It used to be good, but now it's terrible.
Yeah, like damage does not go on the stack anymore. Man.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Obviously, that made some of the cards I liked worse, but
Yeah.
and
I mean,
Nantucket
so
Husk
some of the
has
cards
never
are
been the same.
just unplayable now,
Yes.
but yeah, I had a friend tell me once, like he said, life's too short to pretend you don't like Taylor Swift. And I was like, yes, I had already like made that change, and I was like, that summarizes a lot of why I'm on this side of things now. Like,
Yeah. And for all of you who don't like Taylor Swift out there, that's fine. It's okay.
yeah,
But for those of you
it's
that are pretending that you don't like Taylor Swift, just give it up.
yeah,
Just shake it off and
love it.
and turn off the radio.
Yeah.
But oh, Jeff.
Maybe try to reset, like make your mind a blank space.
Anyway, um, Jeff, are you ready for last call? I feel like we did a pretty good
Yes.
job of like getting all of it out.
Yeah.
So
A lot that I wanted to say. I feel like I said at least 50% of it. So
yeah, I'm sure
it's
that there's more will come up, but if you made it this far, thank you for
yeah.
sitting through all of it. I hope any of this was helpful to you as you've been processing this because it's been very difficult for me to process it as well. So, thanks.
Even if being helpful is you like yelling as you listen to this.
That's true. Or be like, it's like the meme where they're like, ugh, this garbage, the
Yeah.
CIA agent like ripping off of his headphones. Maybe that could have been helpful to you. Who knows? Anyway, Jeff, we have a beer to rate this evening.
Sure do.
Yeah. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, we don't want to make you feel bad. Everyone's in different tiers at different times. Like Arena, there's so many different ways to play. Like we were talking about with Magic and everything. There's ranked and unranked, and Brawl or whatever. It just doesn't really matter. So ultimately, the tiers are just a fun way to rank beers. So don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You have to spit them out. You pour them on the ground. You hate them. They're just bad beers.
I love talking about all the different options in Arena too, because the best thing about Arena is it will not remember what you selected last time, and it will
No,
just default to something you don't want to play, and you're going to play it by accident.
yeah,
So that's fun too.
it's true.
So moving on to silver, those are bad beers or basically just boring beers, you know.
Mhm. Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't drink these again.
Yeah, platinum, these are solid, these are good. You would drink this again.
Mhm. Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot, and you share these with your friends.
Mythic, this is the best of the best. This is to the beer world as like future Spider-Man or Venom is going to be to standard.
Nice.
Definitely the best card in the format.
Anyway, Jeff, we have a coffee stout to talk about this evening. I want to know, is this one of the beers that you tried? I know you had tasted some of these
No,
beers from
I
Berkeley.
think we've left my my
Your
knowledge
taste?
pool
Okay,
on this brewery.
perfect. Um, I didn't like this beer.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is, did this taste like a stout to you?
This tasted
Wasn't it
like it
like it
was,
had the darkness and the coffee flavor,
yeah, it
but
looks
I don't know.
dark,
For me, it
but
was like pretty carbonated. Like it just didn't really feel like
it
a
like
stout.
again, it tasted sour to me. Like there's something in the yeast or
So
something.
interesting because it tasted sweet to me, and I'm like, why
It's
are
so
all your
weird.
beers sweet? And you're like, why are all your beers sour?
Like, why does this taste like or like sour or like tart almost?
Yeah, maybe tart. Like that's
Yeah,
like the
it's
sweet
maybe not
sour kind of
sour
thing.
like a candy, but tart like a wine.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is, but the red ale also tasted like this, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's just a red ale. But now I just feel like, oh, I feel like there's I don't know what it is, but I don't like that flavor.
Hmm.
And so I was hoping for something else, and this was not it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just sad.
So when I went to this place, I ordered
Hmm.
the Leo's Lager, and I went
Which
with
is really good.
friends
Yeah.
who ordered a couple other, and I like tasted what they
Yeah.
had. But I had the Leo's Lager, and I was like, this
Yeah.
place solid. I'm gonna buy everything. So we're in uncharted territory, and like the first beer that was really good is the one that I tried.
Hmm.
So I also didn't like this.
Yeah.
I don't know how much coffee you picked up on here either, but I didn't really get coffee from this. And so
It
I'm usually like, if you say coffee, it has to taste like coffee.
yeah.
So to hold it to the standard that I hold everyone to, it's just like this, it didn't feel like a stout. I didn't really get coffee. I don't think it, maybe it's technically a coffee stout, but like you could have fooled me.
It just felt like it went bad or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking low. Like I would tell people to avoid this. I
Mm.
think like that's I because I love the Leo's Lager so much, so that's why it's so crazy with this
Yeah,
beer.
I
But
thought I was like, this place is great. We're gonna love all of these. And now I'm like, as soon as we start drinking a full beer of the one that I haven't done that before, I'm like,
mhm. Is this
well,
gonna
no.
be all right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll probably still go gold on this.
yeah, uh, I'm gonna give it bronze. I don't like this. I still have some
Bronze.
left. I was
Ooh.
thinking
Oh, you
silver,
still
but
have some left? Yeah, no. If you still have
yeah,
some left at this point in the show, then it's
I just
bronze.
like, yeah, I think I wanted to go silver, but the more I talked about it, the more I'm just like, it almost felt off. I don't know if it was
Yeah.
just the can, like easily, like there's a possibility that
That's
like it
always
just got
possible with these
sealed
smaller
right.
places for sure.
And
Yeah.
but the fact that it happened with one of the other ones before, and I did give that one gold, I'm overcompensating. Honestly, this is probably silver, but
I'm
um,
like, yeah, I'm under because I was like, is it silver? Whatever, I'll just give it gold.
and then when you said gold, I was like, it's definitely bronze then.
If he said gold, I'm going bronze.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to balance it out. So I think a show on the show we maybe say silver. Maybe that's what we say. Like we've our adjusted rank is like in the
Yeah.
middle.
I think we both should have said silver. We
Yeah,
compensated in opposite directions. So there we are.
there we are. I'm still excited to taste the rest of them. Like I'm always going to taste a
Yeah.
beer, and I drink
There's
most
one
of
that
them.
I've been like saving for the end that I'm
Okay,
really excited for, and now I'm like getting less excited for it, but fuck it, I'm still excited.
I'm excited too. It sounds great, or it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It might taste tart and or sweet, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I'm
Anyway,
I'm gonna I'm gonna give it silver. Fuck it. It's silver.
okay.
It
I,
just is
I'll,
silver. Yeah.
I think I'm just going to go up to silver. I feel like I really just
Yeah.
said I like I've had bronze beers I've made, and so this I would not be if I made this beer, I'd be like, yeah, I made it, and it's pretty bad.
I'm
Um,
starting to think they should really leave the brewing to the 6-year-old.
the 6-year-old was great.
Yeah.
His
Leo
his
should be
yeah,
doing all of it.
because that one was phenomenal. Like that was
Yeah.
diamond, like really good. Anyway,
Now you know how they got me.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would have done it too. Absolutely. Anyway, it can happen to anyone. Now that I said it's silver, I can finish this beer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to actually, because if you
I'm required to. Oh,
yeah,
geez.
if you only
Anyway,
voted bronze, then
we are going to closing time, Jeff. As always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
you can also find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
You can talk to me personally at Zulberg, that is Zeulberg on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on our Discord channel. I go by Regular Jeff on there. You can come and commiserate with us, complain, or tell us why you think this is a great move and you're really excited for Universes Beyond. We'd love to have that discourse. The link is in the show notes.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. We have been seeing your comments. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate them, and it's fun to talk to all of you. So let's get some more. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that the night is always darkest before the dawn.
Good night. All right, that's fine.